Hey guys, Sarge here. I am here again for another episode of Shooting It with Two. My guest, as always, Eddie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Doing well, doing well. In this episode of Shooting It with Two, we're going to cover some topics from some questions I received from some newer gun owners, and maybe some that individuals who've owned guns for a long time. Maybe they've kind of thought about it too, due to some mischaracterizations that are out there. Okay. So the first question that we're going to go over today is: should I customize a carry gun? And normally when I hear this, when people talk about carry guns or range guns and all this other stuff, I don't have any of those. I don't have a range gun. If I have a gun, it is not just its intended purpose is not just for the range. I have no guns that the only purpose for them is the range. When I go to the range and I shoot a gun, I come back home, I clean it, and then I load it up with hollow points, and it stores in my and it'll go in either my safe or other areas. Okay, so I don't have dedicated. This pistol's only for the range, and it's all I use it for. And most of the people that you hear say stuff like that, they use like a government model 1911 at the range, and then they carry a super small carry gun. But I don't have that, right? You should train with what you're going to carry, or train with what you'd end up fighting with. And one of the things I'm doing here recently is I'm trying to train with as many pistol series as I can, just to kind of make me a little bit more the wiser on how to run certain guns. So
Mm.
before I give my opinion on it, what do you think about should you customize your carry gun?
I would say yes, because most of mine are all customized. I think I have maybe one factory carry gun. But just for an example. So actually I'll talk about some upgrades or customizations you should make, what I've done, and then ones you should kind of stay wary of. So one customization thing you could add to your firearm is stippling. Of course, if you have a firearm that's kind of slick or the grip is not as texturized or as aggressive as you want it, stippling is obviously a good choice to do. Um, Now, when people come to triggers, I have to say be wary. I'm not gonna name the company, but it's a very reputable company. I had one of the triggers I bought for a build about maybe a year ago, and they modified the factory trigger bar. It's for a Glock. They modified the trigger bar and they put a scallop in it. It's supposed to reduce the trigger weight. So I was like, okay, this is cool. So once I put it in, dry fire a little bit, I was like, all right, this feels nice. Then I kind of put it away, just never thought about it. And then about a month later, pull it out because I was like, oh, I haven't test fired yet. I found that the trigger would catch on the plunger. So I was like, that's weird. So when I pulled the trigger back, the slide would move back. So I was like, this is the issue. So I was like, oh, maybe I didn't lubricate it enough. So all right, put COP on it, put gun lube on it, still do the same thing. I was like, all right, maybe I got to polish the safety plunger. Mind you, these are all factory internals besides for the trigger bar for the trigger. And then I realized it still kept getting caught. So I was like, all right, well, this isn't safe. Well, I was supposed to use this to defend myself. So I ended up switching to a factory Glock trigger without the modified trigger bar. Works just fine. So be wary of the triggers that you find out there for your carry guns, because sometimes they'll render the already safeties that are in place on the gun inoperable, or they won't make it drop safe, or they just won't work. So just be careful of that. Slide milling, if you want a red dot, go for it. That's awesome. I would say don't mess with factory internals. Leave it as it is. It's designed the way it is. And be wary of extended magazine releases. All right, because they work against you sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So just for example of what customizations I've done to my carry guns.
You want to tell a
All right.
story with the magazine release or no?
No, we'll say that for another episode.
Okay.
But as you can see, it's clear. All right. So this is my customized G17. So this is the first Glock that I ever did from the ground up. So I got a Gen 3 frame, Adams Arms Innovation Enforcer slide with the Vortex Viper red dot, Steel City Arsenal suppressor height sights. These are fiber optic. Surefire X300, LTD combat threaded barrel, wide threaded barrel. When I have nothing threaded to it, it doesn't impede me. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And it's gold. All right, aesthetics. And then I have a Swords International. This is just the, I see you, Matt. This is just the trigger shoe. Everything else is Glock factory. And then I have a Swords International Gunfighter Magwell. And then the Cerakote was done by our buddy at Black Eyes Tech, Eddie Blevins, Cerakote Wizard. Highly recommend you go and see him for it. But this, believe it or not, was my carry gun for a time. And I still do carry it every so often. But these are some of the upgrades that I would recommend to somebody. Some you could say is just a little bit for flash. But others I would say are functional. And then, of course, I have stiff-plate on it. Okay. So these are recommendations I would make for a carry gun. But just be aware of those triggers and changing out factory internals.
Okay. Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and say what you got to say about my third barrel. Go for it.
No. I'm not going to say anything. I do want to make the point of this. This whole series is to show two different points of view with it, right? I think that's ridiculous. Some people don't. So it's good for them to see, both sides of it.
Yeah.
If I was going to customize a gun, right, and I had to choose one thing to customize, for me, if it was only one thing to customize, it would be the sights. And as you guys know, I like XS Big Dots, right? So these are the XS Big Dots DXT2s. This would be my first customization to any pistol, would to be to put Big Dots on it. Now, something that I've kind of changed my opinion with over time and shooting quite a bit is I used to think you don't change anything on your gun, right? Don't do it, because I listened to a bunch of old people who didn't know what they were talking about. And here's kind of my argument when it gets to stippling and things like that. I don't understand how that could be used against you if you articulate it correctly. If let's say the gun really doesn't fit your hand in a correct manner and it's kind of hindering your shooting capabilities, right? Because we all don't have the same hand size. If I go and get that grip specific to me and it allows me to be better and more proficient at shooting, what is the negative side of that? Because then if I have to use it for self-defense, I use the best tool to ensure that I'm doing the correct thing and that I'm not making mistakes. And training is a huge part of that. Because when you do training and you go through training courses, you kind of see, hey, I want to change this out. I want to do this. But if you just go to the range, you really don't know what you're doing, right? Because most ranges are not even drawn from your holster. And in training courses, you can go through scenarios when you're getting in and out of cars. If you are just doing force-on-force training or whatever it is, and having the capability to go through those different training steps, it does kind of show you what is the best thing to do with your pistols. So it's a lot like 1911s, right? Everyone who talks crap about customizing your gun that's a 1911 owner is a hypocrite, because they change out grips. They might change out their triggers. They might, but it's different because it's a 1911. That doesn't make any sense. So for me, I have this Kicking Steel Custom Arms Glock 45 MOS. I am not a fan of milling slides that aren't already milled from a factory. So if I get just the MOS version, because that's what it's made for, right? I have a Vortex Venom up here that I'm testing. I've had no issues with it so far. With the stippling that I have on here, it is for an intended purpose. So if you see, I have points up here on the upper portion of the frame right behind the rail. And that is so, one, I could hand this pistol to anybody. And they could immediately, I could very easily tell them, hey, put your thumb at that point, right? When your finger's off the trigger, you can put it up on this point, however you want to do it. But that's also helping me because I'm an idiot. And in the middle of the night, when maybe I'm a little tired, there's a lot going on, I want to be able to get on the gun and not fumble a grip or anything like that and just have my hand lock into place. And that's what these textured points are doing. Also, what I have is underneath the trigger guard, as we can all see right here, I have it stippled right underneath here as well, and it's cut. I don't know if we can see that. There's a ledge cut, and the reason why I did that is so it stops my finger. So I like having tactile areas on the pistol to where I don't have to look for it. I can feel it, and I'm good. So as soon as, if I'm grabbing this pistol out of the nightstand, as soon as my hand feels that ledge, my thumb is going into place, and then I'm putting the pistol out. So that's what I do when it comes to customizing. I do not, one, the factory barrel, you're not going to shoot it out. Especially on these Glock barrels, you're not going to shoot it out. So I keep the barrel factory. I'll change out the sights or whatever. I do not change out triggers. Now, in saying that, right, to me it kind of depends on what the gun is for triggers. If you have a 1911 and you want to do a trigger job, okay. And when I say okay to that, like you have a 2-pound trigger, or like on my 1911, I have a 2.5-pound trigger. But it was done by a professional whose whole life, like his whole paycheck, comes from fixing 1911s. That is it. He doesn't make money from anything else. And he's able to have a nice car, a nice house, and provide. Okay? So he's pretty good at it. Okay? Like, he's been in business for a long time. I trust him to mess with my guns, right? If you have someone like that, go get it customized. Cool. Awesome. But the reason why I'm okay with doing a little trigger job is that 1911 has 2 safeties that I have to defeat to press that trigger and get it to activate. I'm not an advocate for safeties. What I am saying is if you look at the actual firing mechanisms of what it takes to get that trigger down to 2 pounds, I don't want to be an idiot. And you know what I mean? I don't want to be an idiot. So if I'm going to have a 1911 where an individual did a trigger job on it, make sure that you have a knowledgeable person doing the trigger job. Now, if you have a Glock, I think their triggers are fine. I really and truly don't. I don't have an issue with their triggers. And did you know that Glocks have a 3-pound trigger?
Not what's advertised, but I'm sure there are some out there.
No. This has a 3-pound trigger.
I call BS.
Okay. Look, is this a factory trigger in the Glock?
It appears to be a factory trigger.
Oh,
yes.
okay. Here, look. So you take it up right there, right?
Yeah.
Right there. So we took it up all the way to the wall, right?
Yep.
It's a 3-pound trigger. What people don't understand is look at where the reset's at.
Yeah, right there. Like normal.
Okay. So what most people don't understand is when they're pressing the trigger, they start from all the way out here and then they just let it go through. If they would slowly walk it up and up, then when right before they break that shot, that's 3 pounds of pressure that they have to defeat. So when we're shooting, we should have a slower trigger press. And as we get to that part right where we're lining up our sights, I promise you're going to be more accurate doing it this way. So you come right up to the target, sights are lined up, you take a deep breath. As soon as that breath is exhaled, we're already at the wall. Breath pushes out, and you're not missing it. But people don't do that, and that's where they mess up. So, okay, I learned that at a tactical response class, and it actually made sense. Some people say things that don't make sense, right? But I wasn't pressing the trigger that way. Like, when he said that, I was like, oh, crap, I'm not doing that at all. And it changed my whole thought process with it. But if you look at the next time you go out and shoot, walk that trigger all the way up, assign, make sure your sights are on there, and then press it, and then try it the normal way you shoot, and you'll notice a difference. Like at 15 yards, I was putting a 2-inch group in on a target, and I was like, okay, it's actually pretty good. So it's all about prepping the trigger. If you remember the rhythm method that we had talked about at the class we did, it goes into that too. You just kind of break it down a little bit more. So is there anything else you want to talk about when it comes to customizing your gun before we move on to the next topic?
One last thing, and this is kind of just poke your buttons a little bit because I did watch your podcast with Ben Morgan. For those of you out there who want to customize your guns, do what makes you happy. Just make sure it's practical and it makes sense.
What did I say with Ben Morgan? Did we talk about customizing guns?
Yes. Well, more so the things that you put on guns. All right. So this was the first ever Glock that I customized.
Okay.
And yes.
Oh my gosh.
I have a compensator on it.
You don't need a compensator on a 9mm.
So this is what I say to those of you who
there
say
is
don't need
no benefit to a compensator on a 9mm.
Again, can I finish my point?
I'm sorry. I apologize.
And again, the guys who say there's no reason for a compensator on a 9mm, I mean, what makes you the end all be all to what makes a gun perform better? proven fact, they do make the gun shoot flatter. Can people do that with proper grips? Yes. But guess what? There was a point in time when people said there's no point for a red dot on a gun. And guess where we are? It's a matter of time. You need to get with the times. Okay? People who like shooting comps continue to do it. I enjoy it. Believe it or not, this used to be in my carry rotation, and it still is from time to time. But it does make the gun perform better. You cannot deny that.
I can't.
You need to get with the times,
I
man.
can deny it. I can
You
deny
need to get with the times. You
No,
need to get with the times.
I'll stick with my 1911s. Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it. That was the last
Okay.
one. I just wanted to push your
So
buttons a
one
little
half
bit.
of us agrees with compensators. There you go. That's the lesson for the day. Well, you know, that's something too, to where I'm a little set in my ways with certain things. But my argument with when you say that, hey, you should go get something on your gun, right? I hold certain people's opinions pretty in high regard.
Yep.
Is it 100% necessary? No.
No.
The issue that I have with compensators, trigger jobs, upgrades like that is individuals think that if they go and get them, it'll make them shoot better. The other issue I have with them is if you look at 99% of fake instructors that are out there, they're running lights, they're running compensators, they're running all this other stuff, not for the purpose of the device. They're running them to help them shoot better for Instagram, YouTube, hold on, and the civilian classes that they're doing, because it makes them look tactical and stuff. But they're not carrying those guns every day.
Right.
That's my whole issue is what is it actually doing ballistically for the round? Okay, if it's not adding anything ballistically, what's the best plus it can do? Okay, well, it reduces felt recoil, right? And it makes it shoot a little bit flatter. Okay, what is the takeaway? Or what is the, so we can't have something good without having something bad with it, right? That's just how the world is. So adding a compensator, okay, it helps you shoot faster and it reduces felt recoil. What is the negative of it?
So negative is you got to definitely use higher pressured ammo, because depending on what you get, they are picky with ammunition. So if you don't run higher pressured ammo, it won't function properly.
Hold on. But people that advocate for compensators, they don't say that. They just say, oh, you should go get a compensator. They leave that part out. And if I hadn't brought this up, you would have left that part out. So the normal person, hold on, hey, it's what compensators do. But the normal person who's seeing that would think, hey, well, I'm going to go get a compensator. And what they're not understanding is it's not going to run with your 115 grain range ammo that you're using. It ain't going to run. And if it does, it's not going to run that reliably. Okay. Also, cleaning. How often do you clean your compensator?
It's a butt pain. So not as often as I should.
Okay. And if you don't clean the compensator, what could happen?
You have lead deposits build up, and then it just doesn't work. And then it's just an extension of your barrel, and it doesn't work as a compensator anymore.
So those are things to think about. Okay, that's how I feel about them. There's not enough positives to outweigh those negatives in my mind. Because if it can take a perfectly reliable gun, if this Glock 19X has no issues running, and then I put a compensator on it, now all of a sudden I have to watch what ammo I put into it, I'm good. That's not for me. It's another thing I have to take off and clean. Like this, I think this 19X has only had, I want to say I've maybe had it for a year, and it's had maybe 2 good cleanings. And other than that, I just wipe it off, and it's like I obviously take it apart, but I just kind of wipe it down a little bit. I'm not really getting all the way in there, and that's it. If something is going to turn this from being reliable to unreliable, I don't want it. Because can you tell me in an all crap situation I'm gonna have the tools to take it apart, and I'm gonna have the time to want to sit there and clean it? No. And that's just how I am. People are different with guns. That's fine. You can do whatever you want. I'm just saying, for me, I think of the idea of, hey, if something happens, right, and I can't clean this correctly, or I can't sit there and clean out certain parts, is this something I really want to carry? And that's why I put all the money in my 1911. I turned my 1911 into a Glock. And I did that because 1911s are known to be unreliable. But now my 1911 can run dirty and there's no issues with it. Like, there's no issues with it. I went and shot, I think it was 2 weekends. 2 weekends ago, I went and shot probably about 400 rounds through it, give or take. Yep. And I'm going to let it sit there and soak. I'm just going to let it dirty, crust up, and then I'm going to take it back out at the end of the month, and I'm going to see how does it shoot after a month of letting it soak. And I'm going to shoot another 300 to 400 and let it sit there. And then I'm going to go do it again. But I'm lubricating the gun. I'm not just shooting it dry, because that's one of the issues. People that do that stupid stuff, they're doing it with dry guns. So, but those are the pros and cons of compensators. Just so everybody knows, you got to kill them.
Keep in mind, the lead deposit buildup, little extreme example that he gave, you'd have to shoot thousands upon thousands of rounds without cleaning that before you get to that point. So just don't use that as like a scare tactic, like stay away from it. It's just like any modification you make to your gun, you got to make sure it works. So train with it, practice with it, get familiar with it. All right, so you'll have that confidence that it won't fail you. You won't have to do emergency field stripping in an active shooter situation where you have to clean your gun. You don't have to worry about it.
Stay away from them. Carry a clean gun. All right. Hey, so we're going to take a break real quick, and we're going to just overall thank everybody who's helped us out so far. So Eclipse holsters, we have a discount code, 15% off. It's Sarge 19. With McKenna Tech holsters, we have a discount code through them as well. It's Sarge, and it'll be 15% off. That's McKenna Tech holsters. The link will be in the description. If you guys look up Side Guard holsters, this is the only leather holster company that I use and recommend. He is the guy that makes them. He's a phenomenal maker, and his holsters should be charged for like 2 to 3 times what they are. So like the holster that I have through him, well, it's on the gun. The holster I have through him called the Hammer. It's a double looped thin holster. It's $70 on his website. It should be $200 for sure, because it is that good of quality. Okay. So that G9 Ammunition is my ammo sponsor. He shot some of it. We shot some different, what did we shoot that day when we were up there? It was like water bottles.
It was Gatorade bottles, and it was the fluted one that we shot. The thing ripped them apart.
On a hollow point. So if you guys are ever interested in what kind of ammunition, or you guys want to know what ammunition I carry G9 ammo for my hollow points. So there you go, guys. All right.